I'll create a new script following the exact structure, style, and pacing of your reference script, but with a completely different story based on the title about the mom refusing to pick up the sick daughter. The phone rang at 2:15 in the afternoon. It was a Wednesday. I was in my office reviewing quarterly reports for the marketing firm I had built from scratch. My daughter Emma was at Lincoln Elementary, 3rd grade. The office was bustling with the controlled energy of deadline season. It was the kind of productive atmosphere that I had spent 5 years cultivating. The ringtone was professional, discreet. Nothing like the chaotic household noise from the apartment I grew up in. Everything in this office, from the glass conference tables to the sleek ergonomic chairs, was a testament to a career I had built through sheer determination. A life where I called the shots. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me where in the world are you watching from. I answered the call, expecting a client or vendor. I glanced at the caller ID. The screen showed Lincoln Elementary School. The name appeared familiar but urgent, like a fire alarm in the middle of a peaceful day. My heart didn't skip. It didn't flutter. It just gave a sharp, sudden squeeze in my chest, a tight grip around my ribs. Then it steadied. "Hello, this is Sarah." The school nurse, Mrs. Patterson, was on the line. Her voice was professional but concerned, the tone reserved for situations that required immediate attention. She explained that Emma had a fever of 102 degrees and had been sick to her stomach twice. School policy required immediate pickup. I could hear the soft sounds of the nurse's office in the background, children coughing, papers rustling. 8 years. That's how long I had been a single mother. Ever since Emma's father decided that fatherhood wasn't part of his 5-year plan and disappeared into a life of weekend trips and dating apps. Now, my daughter needed me, and I was 40 minutes away in downtown traffic. "I'll be right there," I told Mrs. Patterson. My voice was calm, authoritative. I was already reaching for my keys. But then I remembered. My mother, Linda Chun, was only 15 minutes from the school. She was retired, had flexible time, and had always said family came first. She lived in the same suburb as Emma's school, in the house where I grew up. I had called her for help before, and she had always been there. I dialed her number, my fingers moving quickly across the screen. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was warm, familiar. "Sarah, honey, what's up?" "Mom, Emma's sick at school. She has a high fever, and they need someone to pick her up right away. I'm downtown, and you're so much closer. Could you please go get her?" Silence. It wasn't a thoughtful pause. It was a wall, a sudden, cold barrier that seemed to stretch across the phone line. "Sarah," she said, her voice completely changed. Gone was the warmth, replaced by something sharp and dismissive. "I'm not your babysitter." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at my computer screen, trying to process what I had just heard. "What?" "Mom, she's your granddaughter. She's sick. That's your problem, not mine," she continued, her tone growing colder. "I raised my children. I'm done with that phase of my life. You chose to have a baby. You deal with it." I felt something crack inside my chest. Not break, just crack. Like ice under pressure. "Mom, this isn't babysitting. This is an emergency. She needs family. She needs her mother," came the reply. "I have plans today. Book club at 3. I'm not canceling my life because you can't manage yours." The line went dead. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to the dial tone. My mother, who had raised me on stories of family loyalty and unconditional love, had just refused to help her sick granddaughter. The woman who had taught me that family always came first had just put her book club ahead of Emma's fever. I grabbed my purse, told my assistant to reschedule everything, and raced through traffic to get to my daughter. The drive felt endless, every red light a reminder that Emma was waiting, sick and probably scared, wondering why no one was coming for her. When I finally arrived at the school, I found Emma in the nurse's office, pale and listless, her usually bright eyes dulled with fever. She reached for me with weak arms. "Mommy, I don't feel good." I held her close, feeling the heat radiating from her small body. "I know, baby. Mommy's here now. Let's get you home." As I carried her to the car, I made a decision. This wasn't just about a sick day. This was about priorities, about what family really meant. And I was about to teach my mother a lesson she would never forget. The house I grew up in was always warm. Not just the temperature, though my mother was vigilant about the thermostat, but emotionally warm. It was a house of traditions, family dinners every Sunday, birthdays celebrated with homemade cakes, holidays that lasted for days. The walls were covered with family photos spanning generations. My mother was the matriarch, the keeper of family history, the one who remembered everyone's birthday and made sure no one felt forgotten. We were the Chens. We were close-knit. At 24, I understood that my primary role was to honor the family legacy. I was a good daughter. I called every week. I brought Emma over for regular visits. I included my mother in every milestone and holiday. But when Emma's father left when she was just 6 months old, something in my mother's attitude began to shift. I remember the first time I asked for help. Emma was teething and hadn't slept in 3 days. I was exhausted, running on coffee and desperation. I called my mother, hoping she could watch Emma for just a few hours so I could rest. "Sarah," she said, her voice tinged with disappointment. "This is what happens when you don't choose carefully. Actions have consequences." I was confused. "Mom, I just need a little help. Emma's your granddaughter." "Of course she is," my mother replied. "But you need to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. I can't enable your poor choices." Her words stung, but I told myself it was tough love. She was trying to make me stronger, more independent. Over the years, the pattern continued. Every request for help was met with lectures about responsibility and consequences. Every invitation to family events came with subtle reminders that single motherhood was a burden I had chosen. Slowly, the warm, supportive mother I remembered began to transform into someone colder, more judgmental. She would dote on Emma during planned visits, buying her toys and treats, playing the role of the loving grandmother. But the moment I needed actual help, actual support, she would retreat behind a wall of disapproval. The hardest moment came when Emma was 4. I had been offered a promotion at work, a chance to become a department manager. It meant better pay, better benefits, a more secure future for both of us. But it also meant occasional evening meetings and weekend conferences. I asked my mother if she could help with childcare during these times. "Sarah," she said, settling into her favorite chair with a cup of tea, "you can't have it all. Some women think they can be career women and perfect mothers, but something always suffers. Usually, it's the children who pay the price." I looked at Emma, who was quietly coloring at the kitchen table, completely absorbed in her artwork. She was happy, healthy, loved. She was thriving despite our circumstances, or maybe because of them. "Mom, this promotion would help us. It would give Emma more opportunities. Or it would give you an excuse to put your career ahead of your daughter," she replied. "I won't be part of that." I turned down the promotion. I told myself it was the right choice, that Emma needed me more than I needed career advancement. But deep down, I knew I had let fear and judgment dictate my decision. My mother's disapproval had power over me, and I was allowing it to limit my potential. The breaking point should have been obvious, but I was too invested in maintaining the fiction of a loving family to see it clearly. For years, I had been making excuses for her behavior, convincing myself that her criticism came from love, that her reluctance to help was actually helpful in the long run. I was so desperate to preserve the relationship that I ignored the evidence of what it had become. But that Wednesday afternoon, sitting in my car outside Emma's school with my sick daughter in my arms, I finally saw the truth. My mother's love was conditional. It was based on her comfort, her schedule, her approval of my life choices. It wasn't the unconditional family bond she had taught me to value. It was a transaction, and I was always on the losing end. As I drove Emma home, her small hand in mine, I realized that I had been setting a terrible example. I was teaching my daughter that family meant accepting conditional love, that asking for help was a sign of failure, that other people's comfort mattered more than her needs. That stopped now. The fever broke on Thursday morning. Emma woke up with clear eyes and her usual bright smile, asking for pancakes and cartoons. I called in sick to work, not because she still needed care, but because I needed time to think. While Emma watched her favorite shows, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and made a list. Not a to-do list, but a reality list. All the times I had asked my mother for help and been refused. All the times she had made me feel guilty for being a single parent. All the times she had prioritized her own convenience over her granddaughter's needs. The list was longer than I expected. It painted a clear picture of a relationship that was supposed to be supportive but was actually toxic. I realized that I had been so afraid of losing my mother's approval that I had lost sight of my own worth as a parent and a person. That afternoon, I called her. She answered with her usual cheerful greeting, as if the conversation from the day before had never happened. "Sarah, how's Emma feeling? I hope she's better." "She's fine, Mom. No thanks to you." The words came out calmly, matter-of-factly. There was no anger in my voice, just clarity. "I'm sorry," she said, though I could hear the defensiveness creeping in. "Yesterday, when I called you for help with Emma, you said you weren't my babysitter. You chose your book club over your sick granddaughter. I want you to know that I heard you." "Sarah, I don't think you understand." "I understand perfectly," I interrupted. "I understand that your love for Emma and for me comes with conditions. I understand that your support depends on your mood and your schedule. I understand that I've been making excuses for behavior that isn't acceptable." She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was sharper. "You're being dramatic, Sarah. I can't drop everything every time you have a parenting crisis. I have my own life." "You're absolutely right," I said. "You do have your own life. And from now on, Emma and I will respect that by not being part of it." Before she could respond, I hung up. For the first time in years, I felt free. That evening, as I tucked Emma into bed, she looked up at me with serious eyes. "Mommy, why didn't Grandma come get me yesterday when I was sick?" I sat on the edge of her bed, smoothing her hair. For 8 years, I had been protecting my mother's image, making excuses for her behavior to preserve Emma's relationship with her grandmother. No more. Sometimes, baby, people show us who they really are through their actions. Grandma chose not to help when you needed her. That tells us something important about what she values. Emma nodded solemnly. "So we can't count on her?" "We can count on each other," I said, kissing her forehead. "We can count on the people who show up for us. And we're going to build our own family with people who choose to be there." I started building that family the next day. I called my best friend Jessica, a single mom who understood the challenges I faced. I reached out to my coworkers who had children, forming a network of parents who could support each other. I joined a single parents group at Emma's school. I stopped trying to maintain a relationship that was draining my energy and started investing in relationships that filled me up. The transformation was immediate. Without the constant weight of my mother's judgment, I felt lighter, more confident. I applied for the promotion I should have taken years earlier. This time, when I got it, I had a support network in place to help with the increased responsibilities. Emma thrived in this new environment. She saw me standing up for myself, making tough decisions, building a life based on mutual respect and support. She saw what healthy relationships looked like. 3 months after our last conversation, my mother called. Her voice was different, smaller, less certain. "Sarah, I've been thinking about our conversation. Maybe I was too harsh." "Maybe?" I asked. "I was trying to teach you independence," she continued. "I thought that by not helping, I was making you stronger." "What you taught me," I said, "is that your love comes with conditions. What you taught Emma is that family can't be counted on when it matters most." There was a long pause. "I love both of you," she said quietly. "I know you think you do," I replied. "But love isn't a feeling, Mom. It's a choice. It's actions. It's showing up when things are hard, not just when they're convenient." "What can I do to fix this?" she asked. I looked across the room at Emma, who was doing homework at the kitchen table, confident and happy in the secure environment we had built together. "I don't know if you can," I said honestly. "But if you ever figure out what unconditional love actually means, you know our number." I hung up, and this time I wasn't sad. I was proud. The first piece of our new foundation was community. With my promotion came financial stability, but more importantly, it came with confidence. I used both to create the support system Emma and I deserved. I hired a reliable babysitter, not just for emergencies, but for regular date nights with friends, for time to pursue hobbies, for the simple pleasure of adult conversation. I joined the school parent committee, connecting with other parents who understood the juggling act of work and family. I formed genuine friendships based on mutual support rather than obligation. Emma flourished in this environment. She made friends whose parents became our chosen family. She had sleepovers, play dates, birthday parties filled with people who celebrated her simply for being herself. She learned that family wasn't just about blood relations, but about the people who consistently showed up with love and support. I enrolled in evening business classes, working toward my MBA. Jessica would watch Emma on Tuesday nights, and I would take her kids on Thursday evenings. It was a system built on reciprocity and respect, everything my relationship with my mother had lacked. The childcare arrangement wasn't a burden or a favor, it was a partnership. As my career advanced, I made sure to pay it forward. I mentored other single mothers in my company. I advocated for flexible work arrangements and on-site childcare. I used my growing influence to create the kind of supportive work environment I had needed but never received. Emma became my greatest teacher. At 8 years old, she had an intuitive understanding of healthy relationships that had taken me decades to learn. She was kind, but not a people pleaser. She was generous, but understood boundaries. She knew the difference between love and manipulation because she had grown up in an environment where love was freely given and never used as a weapon. One evening, as we were making dinner together, she looked up at me with her serious, thoughtful expression. "Mommy, some of my friends' grandmothers pick them up from school and take them places. Do you think Grandma Linda will ever do that for me?" I paused in my chopping, considering how to answer. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I know that the people who love us will find ways to show it. And the people who don't show it probably don't feel it the way we need them to." She nodded, accepting this wisdom with a matter-of-fact resilience that never ceased to amaze me. "That's okay," she said. "We have Jessica's mom and Mrs. Rodriguez from school and lots of people who love us." She was right. We had built something beautiful from the ashes of disappointment. We had created a family based on choice rather than chance, on actions rather than words, on mutual respect rather than obligation. A year after cutting contact with my mother, I received an unexpected call. It was from my Aunt Helen, my mother's sister, whom I hadn't spoken to in months. "Sarah," she said, her voice heavy with concern, "I need to tell you something about your mother." My heart clenched involuntarily. Despite everything, she was still my mother. "What's wrong?" "She's been sick," Helen continued. "Not physically, but emotionally. She's been seeing a therapist, talking about her relationship with you and Emma. She's finally starting to understand what she did." I sat down heavily, unprepared for this development. "What do you mean?" "She's been carrying around guilt about her own mother," Helen explained. "Grandma Rose was so critical, so impossible to please. Linda swore she would never be like that, but she realizes she became exactly what she hated. She's been pushing you away because she was afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of being needed, and then failing." I felt a familiar ache in my chest. The little girl in me who had always wanted her mother's unconditional love stirred with hope. But the woman I had become, the mother who had learned to protect her daughter, remained cautious. "That's her journey to take," I said carefully. "But it doesn't erase the damage she's done." "I know," Helen said gently. "She knows too. She's not asking for forgiveness. She's not even asking to see you. She just wanted you to know that she understands now why you had to walk away." After I hung up, I sat in my quiet kitchen, processing this information. I felt sad for my mother, for the generational pain that had shaped her into someone who could reject a sick grandchild. But I also felt proud of myself for breaking that cycle, for choosing a different path. I had given Emma something I never had: unconditional love and support. 2 years later, my mother did call. Not to ask for anything, not to justify her behavior, but to apologize. "Sarah," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "I've been in therapy for 2 years now. I understand that I failed you as a mother and I failed Emma as a grandmother. I understand that my fear of being vulnerable made me cruel. I understand that love without action is just empty words." I listened, my heart guarded but open to the possibility of truth. "I'm not calling to ask for anything," she continued. "I'm calling to tell you that you were right to protect Emma from me. You were right to choose people who show up for you. You've become the mother I should have been, and Emma is lucky to have you." There was a long pause. "I love you both," she said, "and I'm going to prove it by giving you the space you need, by not demanding anything from you, by working on myself until maybe someday I can earn the right to be in your lives again. If that day ever comes." For the first time in our conversation, her love felt real. It felt like love without conditions, without expectations, without manipulation. It felt like the love I had always wanted from her. "Thank you," I said quietly, "for saying that, for understanding." "You don't have to thank me for doing what I should have done years ago," she replied. "But maybe someday, if you're willing, I could see Emma. Not as a right, not as an obligation, but as a privilege I would have to earn." I looked across the room at Emma, now 10 years old, confident and secure in the love that surrounded her daily. She deserved the chance to know her grandmother, but only if that grandmother could love her the way she deserved to be loved. Maybe someday, I said, but it would have to be on our terms. Emma's terms. I wouldn't want it any other way, my mother said. After we hung up, I felt something I hadn't expected. Hope. Not hope for a return to the old relationship, but hope for something entirely new. Something built on truth rather than illusion, on earned trust rather than assumed obligation. That night, as I tucked Emma into bed, she asked me about the phone call she had overheard. Was that Grandma Linda? I nodded. She wanted to apologize for not being there when you were sick, and for a lot of other things too. Emma considered this seriously. Do you think people can really change? It was a profound question from my wise daughter. I think people can change if they really want to and if they're willing to do the work, I said. But it takes time, and it takes proof, not just words. If she changes, would we let her back into our family? She asked. I smoothed her hair, marveling at her generous heart. If she proves that she can love us the way we deserve to be loved, then maybe. But our family is already complete, Emma. Any additions would just be extra blessings, not necessities. She nodded, satisfied with this answer. I like our family the way it is, she said sleepily. But I wouldn't mind extra blessings. As I turned off her light and closed her door, I realized that we had achieved something remarkable. We had built a life where love was abundant, where support was reliable, where family meant safety and acceptance. We had broken the cycle of conditional love and created something beautiful in its place. Whether my mother could eventually earn a place in this new family remained to be seen. But it no longer mattered for our happiness. We were complete with or without her. We had learned that family isn't about who has to love you, but about who chooses to love you well. The doorbell rang at 6 o'clock in the evening. It was a Friday. I was in my kitchen helping Emma with a science project about solar systems. The house was filled with the comfortable sounds of our evening routine: homework, dinner prep, quiet conversation. It was the kind of peaceful productivity I had spent years building. The chime was warm and welcoming, nothing like the cold silence that had once defined my relationship with my mother. Everything in this house, from the family photos of chosen family to the art projects covering the refrigerator, was a testament to love that showed up every single day. I walked to the door, expecting a package delivery. I glanced through the peephole. Standing on my porch was my mother, Linda Chun, holding a small wrapped box and a bouquet of Emma's favorite flowers, sunflowers. She looked older, softer somehow, her usual rigid posture replaced by something more humble. But most importantly, she looked patient. She wasn't demanding entry. She was simply waiting, prepared to be turned away if necessary. I opened the door slowly. "Hello, Sarah," she said quietly. "I know I don't have the right to be here, but I've been working on myself for 3 years now, and I wanted to ask, not demand, but ask, if there might be a chance to earn my way back into your lives. Not as the grandmother I used to be, but as someone new, someone better." I looked at this woman who had caused me so much pain, who had taught me that love came with conditions, who had refused to help when her granddaughter needed her. But I also saw someone who had done the work to understand her failures, someone who was asking for a chance rather than demanding rights. "Emma," I called softly, "someone's here to see you." My daughter appeared at my side, curious and unafraid. She looked at her grandmother with the clear eyes of someone who had grown up knowing her worth. "Hi, Grandma Linda," she said politely, but without rushing to hug her. "Hello, Emma," my mother said, her voice gentle. "You've grown so much. You look strong and happy." "I am," Emma said simply. "Mommy and I have a good life." "I can see that," my mother replied, tears gathering in her eyes. "I'm glad. That's how it should be." She held out the box and flowers. "I brought these for you, not as a way to buy forgiveness, but because I wanted you to know I was thinking of you. If you don't want them, that's okay too." Emma looked up at me, silently asking for guidance. I nodded, letting her make her own choice. She stepped forward and accepted the gifts. "Thank you," she said. "Would you like to come in for a little while?" I asked my mother. "Just for a little while. To start." My mother's face lit up with hope and gratitude. "I would like that very much," she said. "But only if you're sure." As she stepped into our home, our sanctuary built on unconditional love and mutual support, I realized that sometimes the greatest victory isn't in staying closed off, but in being strong enough to remain open to possibility. Emma had taught me that love should be generous when it's safe to be so. My chosen family had taught me that I could afford to take risks because I was never alone. And my own journey had taught me that I was strong enough to handle whatever came next. We'll see how it goes, I said, closing the door behind her. One day at a time. For the first time in 8 years, all 3 generations of our family were in the same room. But this time, we were there by choice, with boundaries, with respect, and with hope. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. It was something better, a new beginning built on truth.